You know, I don't want to say that I told y'all so about how the media work, but the only reason why Ann Curry was let go wasn't just because of ratings, it's because of resentment. It was resentment that a white woman was not holding the big chair. Now, I know y'all say Tamron Hall, and I can't think of the sister name that hosted the weekend version of the Today Show. Those don't count. Though Tamron and some of those other sisters that filled in, they're filling in. The weekend show, they don't hold that to the high standards they hold the weekday show. A lot of people are going to say, well, Ann Curry's not black. No, she's a woman of color. A woman of color is close enough for them. And whether y'all want to believe it or not, I advise y'all to start doing some research on how how we were classified, reclassified, and how race is an artificial construct. At one time, people who were considered Mexican, Cuban, Dominican, Hindu, Arab, Asian, how you want to slice it, was looked upon as being black. And there was a time in this country where people who are now being reclassified as other or into their own separate racial categories was calling themselves black. But see, the media doesn't talk about that, and unfortunately, our organizations or our churches are afraid to communicate this, or they don't talk about it at all in school. Now, a lot of y'all gonna say, "Well, Harvey, she's considered white when it's convenient." Trust me, white people don't look at Asians and Arab sort Mexicans as truly being white, only when it's convenient for them. Okay, and I want to remind y'all of this. She's been made the sacrificial lamb. The show ratings went down. Now they went to panic mode. This is television. Ratings fluctuate. But what it was is that large majority of the Today Show demographic are women, white women. And they resented seeing a woman of color getting that top position. That's what it boils down to. Ann Curry been on that show for what, 15, 16 years, and nobody had no problem when she was sitting over there playing sidekick, reading the news events. You know what I mean? It's when she got to that big seat, that's when they said, "Oh." See, they don't mind her guest hosting when Meredith or Katie, or when some other host was sick. They don't mind that. They know you only there for a short period of time and somebody go on vacation. You know what I mean? But it's when you get to that big chair, white women see you as a threat. Whether they do it consciously or unconsciously, they see you as a threat. Let's go back to let's give an example at The View. View is an ensemble cast, right? They got women of different backgrounds. When Star Jones started losing weight, when she started talking about her wedding and showing how glamorous it's going to be and how much she liked it, white women had a visceral attitude towards it. But we've seen TV shows where countless celebrities have talked about their weddings. People go out and want to buy magazines. They can't get enough. They want to see what your child looks like. All kinds of shit. So what happened was they resented seeing a black woman out there having something or doing something that's supposed to only be geared towards white women in their mind. In Meredith Vieira, whether y'all look at her or not, they look at her as a woman of color. They look at her as, and as this guy told me, a rice nigger. And I tell you how he said that, why he said it. It had to be just before, maybe after or during 9/11, where I was in a supermarket, and I forgot, I think Jennifer Lopez was on the cover, and at that time she was like extremely, popular and everything. And I guess the guy was like, "Man, you see how they think they all this and all that." I'm like, "You talking to me?" He's like, "Yeah, what do you think about Jennifer Lopez?" I'm like, she okay. He said, "I don't see it." And then he went, and then the conversation went into this whole racial thing, and I'm like, "Oh crap." So I'm like, hopefully the person checking out the person grocery, like, hurry up and get it. Then he started talking about using slurs. I don't know how they think these rice and these sand niggers think they got it made in this country. And I'm looking at him, I'm trying to ignore him. Everybody's looking at him like, this dude is bold. He didn't give a fuck. He was doing what a white man does when they're in a company of other whites. They get bold, they get cocky, And they figure, well, I'm the only black guy in this area at this time, that either I'm going to be very vocal and say something against them, or I'm going to go along with it, or I'm just ignore it. So I pretty much, ignored it to a degree, because I wasn't going to get in that argument. Because at that time, like I still feel to this day, I think men and women of color who skin are lighter or hair's a little bit straighter have basically cut our throats for themselves to get ahead. And then when they get treated a certain way, they want to run back to us and say, we got to stand together. That's why I deeply resent the Mexican community, the Hindu or Arab or whomever shitting on us. And then when they get their nigger moment or get reminded that a certain section of white America view them as niggers, they want to come back and be our friend. And Ann Curry, whether you like her or not, she got a nigger moment. Because I'm telling you right now, people resented seeing this Asian woman sit next to a white man. Now, they don't have a problem with a black woman sitting next to a white man because people like that combination for some reason. Because they think it in sexual nature. If you don't believe me, go on some of these websites. Look at some of the comments. Especially if she's an extremely attractive black, like Tamron Hall. They dig that shit. But if it's a black man with a white woman, she either had to be a certain age, or she had to already have a family locked in place, or they give out this certain image, or he's not threatening. If you don't believe, look at your local news. Look at the combinations. But Ann got too familiar. That's supposed to be a white woman's seat, whether they say it out loud or infer. You know it's supposed to be a white woman's chair. A woman that's been with that show all that time and the audience is not used to her, that doesn't make any sense. And she knew the writing was on the wall. She knew it. And you notice how the media talked about but tried to downplay it a little bit at the same time. But when they was talking about Matt Law leaving the Day Show, everybody kept, is he leaving? Remember? See, y'all got to watch patterns. Y'all got to understand the method to some people madness. To them, her skin tone and characteristics remind them too much of a black person. This is why I laugh when I see some of my Asian counterparts, our Hindu, our Arab, our Latin counterparts thinking that they've made it. Now, some will get through. Some can blend in very well. Because you got black folks still didn't know that Christina Aguilera was a person of color, or a Latin, I should say. Because of the blonde hair or the dyed hair. Cameron Diaz, she's a person who's considered color, but she's so waspy looking, or she don't carry herself in that way, she could blend in. But Ann Curry, whether y'all admit it or not, she looks too ethnic for them, and white people can't take that. Like I said, they don't mind seeing the black woman sit there, but they know she ain't gonna never get that check. If she do, the show is on his last legs, or a black man get is on his last legs. And I'm gonna say, what about Brian Gumbel? He was less threatening. He was a light-skinned black man. He wasn't perceived as threatening. That's why Lester Holt shaved his mustache, y'all. And if y'all don't realize, go look at Lester Holt old images when he was working here in Chicago. It's on YouTube. Type in Lester Holt, WBBM, and you'll see what I'm talking about. They couldn't take seeing this woman sitting in the big chair. And by Comcast being part owner or majority owner in NBC, and they having right leanings, they opted to get her out of there. I just want y'all to think about morning talk shows and think about the combinations who they have. CBS This Morning, Charlie Rose and Gayle King. Gayle King is black. Charlie Rose is white. He's an older white man. Good Morning America. Robin Roberts is a black woman who and I mean, I could be wrong, but I think she's butch. But that's just me. And George Stephanopoulos. You see a pattern? See, some people within the Asian and Latin, these so-called groups, I call them people of color, thought they was in. And as long as they cool, as long as they keeping us in our place and keeping us from getting ahead. But when they get ahead, people start getting nervous. This is why you have people responding the way they respond to immigration not in a logical sense, but in a more racialized sense. I'm telling y'all, it's a pattern here, people. Y'all just gotta see it if you want to see it.